Welcome to something to talk about. Yeah, really loud. Welcome to something to talk about.
You heard the little lady. Welcome to something to talk about. My name is Taco, and this is one of my what ifs. So where I cover the Song of Ice and Fire lore, and I change, something, and then somebody else becomes king, a person who never became king, and then I talk about who their small council is. So which one am I doing here? Well, we'll find out unless you read the title. But if you're only a thumbnail reader, you don't know. What if Robert Baratheon died from his wounds after the Trident? All right, well, let's go. So what is this? I will be making what if videos in the vein of small councils, right? Like that's how I'm going to explore the world, is by looking at the small council. This stemmed from a comment on my Daemon Blackfyre Kingsguard vid asking for a small council for him. This has stemmed into me thinking of other would-be kings. I will only pull from existing lore, and I will not make up any characters from scratch. This is all based on lore and just my opinion. And please tell me yours in the tell me your small council in the comments. Your comments might all be, that's not who I think the king will be. So, okay. This is all opinion. Please be respectful of my opinion. I didn't flip a coin. I didn't guess. I guessed, because I don't know. But I put a lot of thought into this. I've been thinking about this one for months. And I think I got it. Okay. So if your opinion's off, that's cool. Let me know. But I was going to say something else. No, I think that's it. All right. Yeah. Now I said based on lore, I do have a character that fits in the place, but only out of speculation from myself. Like, what if he's this? Then I think he would be in this place. And I do state question marks on it. I don't. So that's the closest I'm going to get from not going completely off existing lore. But I have an asterisk next to that one. Okay. So, yeah. All right. Sweet. Let's go. This was a tough one. The first idea was to do a Ned council, a King Ned, right? King Ned Stark was the first idea. So I picked this spot, but the more I thought about it, the more I leaned towards someone else. So this is if Robert dies after the Battle of the Trident, but not during, right? After. Okay, so he still kills Rhaegar. In the actual lore, he is badly wounded, and that's why Ned gets the King's Landing first. So in this, Ned's getting the King's Landing, and on his way there, he finds out that it went the wrong way, and Robert's dead. Okay, so now we don't know who's going to be king, and all the other stuff still happened because none of it was. He dies late enough that all the sack of King's Landing and stuff doesn't get prevented, right? So where was that saying? After the Battle of the Trident, as Ned leads to King's Landing, the normal events happen, right? With Jaime killing Aerys II, so that still happens, and Tywin sacking King's Landing. So Tywin still sacks King's Landing, and everyone who dies in that still dies. This time, when Ned arrives, he brings a huge army, right? And the knowledge that Robert is dead. I think this will lead to the crowning of Viserys III. Hear me out. Like I said, I put a lot of thought into this one. Here we are. After a certain Baratheon, I'll talk about that later, goes and gets him from Dragonstone, a council is called and Viserys is crowned with two men acting as regents. Now, I have a lot of explaining to do to get to this point, but I'm explaining it in the character's thing. All right. So if you're like, who are this? Who's that? What are you talking about? How's it going to be Viserys? Hear me out. All right. Please. I understand that this is off the wall, but I honestly think that this is the most likely thing that would happen if I know anything about Ned Stark. And I hope I know something. Gee, try to be a lore dude around here. King Viserys III Targaryen. Also, I wish I had art from this time. Almost all the art we're going to show is from the time in the books and not, beginning of Robert's Rebellion. So, of course, Viserys wouldn't look like this yet. He is 7 years old. All right. Like I said, Viserys would be crowned at the age of 7. him and his pregnant mother would be brought to King's Landing from Dragonstone. Queen Regent Rhaella Targaryen would only be regent in name. She's just not getting her own slide. And will have little power. That's one reason. And also, she may still die in childbirth. She is pregnant with Dany. Unless you're one of those truthers that Dany is a dragon seed or whatever. I'm not going off of speculation. I'm trying to just go off the lore, not theories. Except for maybe R plus L equals J. But that's it. Okay? Viserys would as well have very little power until he turns 16, until his regency's done. I see this much like the reign of Aegon III, but luckily for him, Viserys will have much better regents. That's how I came to this conclusion, because the Dance of the Dragon, spoilers, happens, and then after all that happens, it's a small kid, because everybody's pretty much dead, and it's a small kid with a bunch of regents. And this same thing happens, right? Robert wasn't named because he was a rebel. He was named partly because he wanted it. He was pretty much the only one who did. But he has a claim to the throne. He was actually in line of the Targaryen throne because he's a second cousin. He wasn't the next in line, right? Viserys would be the next in line, but Viserys is a kid. Robert has an army. But now Robert doesn't have an army. Robert doesn't have a life. And his big hatred towards Targaryen children isn't here. Ned doesn't have that hatred towards Targaryen children. He's probably going to have a lot more sympathy towards Targaryen children. Because once he saw what happened to Rhaegar and Elya's kids in the main timeline, it really pissed him off because he doesn't like seeing Targaryen children get killed because most likely Jon Snow, right? So that's how I'm coming to the conclusion of Viserys III, because it's just like Aegon III. He's not going to have any power. He's just going to be a figurehead, and then the regents are going to take over. So let's talk about these regents. Well, the first one, of course, is Ned. The whole point of this is I was trying to think of King Ned, but I don't see Ned trying to take the throne. I just don't see it happening. I see him putting Viserys on it and then doing everything he can without Robert to keep the realm stable. Yes, Ned. Of course, he will have many things to do, right? First things first, gaining control of the city. He would not honor the murders of Elia, right? He would punish them. So Elia and her children, he would not do that. I see Tywin being upset, but he is smart. He knew Robert would love it, but I'm assuming, maybe he doesn't, he knows Ned would hate it. So he would try to distance himself from Gregor Clegane and Amory Lorch. Or maybe he does wrap them, right, and presents them, and Ned's like, are you crazy? And then Tywin's like, yeah, this is Gregor's idea. He's going to, whether or not they're still presented that way or they're hidden, and he immediately is like, hey, I tried to save the royal family, Ellie and her kids, but Gregor Clegane and Amory Lorch did this. However it happens, this is how I think it would end up, right? So to keep Dorne happy, which is something that Ned's actually going to try to do, unlike Robert, he would have them execute them, and he would actually execute them himself. I'm sure Gregor's going to be a little hard to execute, but eventually he would try to get his head cut off, right? As for Jaime Lannister, I would believe that he would take the black. I know that's insane, but I don't see Ned thinking the murder of Aerys was okay. Just like Cregan Stark, more spoilers towards the end of Dance of Dragons, doesn't think the death of Aegon II was okay. Aerys II, Aegon II. He still, even though he was on the other side, is still punishing the people who did it. He's going to punish Jaime Lannister for killing his king. But he can't execute him because you're already angering Tywin. And this is probably going to anger Tywin that he's almost going to go to war if you make Jaime take the black. Tywin's going to be extremely upset. But if you kill Jaime, war's starting right there. And I think Ned's going to know that. So I think Jaime's either going to be exiled or take the black. And if you disagree with me there, fine. This is mad, crazy. I'm trying to figure it out on my own. If you think differently, please tell me, but please be respectful in the comments. Okay. So, where was I? Take the black. Tywin would then leave. He won't have much power over the king. He won't have any power over the king, but he would leave without punishment for the sack. So now he's not getting in trouble for the sack. Like I said, Robert loved him for it. This Ned wouldn't. He would be pissed. And for a second thing, all right, so now for the second thing Ned has to do, but before we move on past Tywin, I think Tywin having a rebellion or something later on is possible. I don't see a way that you can end the situation without Robert in trying to do things the Ned way, right? Not pissing somebody off. And he's pissing Tywin off because he kind of hates Tywin, right? So he's not going to marry Cersei. He already married Catelyn, right? So he can't marry Cersei. So, yeah, I'm just saying I don't think this is a peaceful situation. Things are probably going to get haywire with one of the most powerful people in the kingdom being pissed off. All right, we still got a long way to go. So the second thing he's got to do is something he can't do himself. But he does himself in the main series, but now he can't. He knows that he knows that keeping order in King's Landing, he knows that he needs to keep order in King's Landing, and he can't leave to save his sister, right? So in the book, he gets in an argument with Robert, and he gets to leave. He's like, all right, I'm going to go and take care of the siege down south, and then I'm going to go to Tower and Joy, and I'm not going to tell anybody. But he can't do that, okay? So the one speculation I'm doing, which a lot of people do, is I'm just going to assume that R plus L equals J. If you don't believe that R plus L equals J, sorry. I feel like it's almost widely accepted at this point. But then you can kind of forget about this whole half of the slide if you don't. So he knows that... He has to go save his sister. So he sends... Instead of by himself to take care of saving his sister and Storm's End, he sends Howland Reed with a larger group, but still not a full army. So he has a full army going south, lifts the siege, and then he takes a much bigger group, not like an army again, to the Tower of Joy. So I think instead of Promise Me, Ned, we get Promise Me Howland, because Howland Reed and how am I forgetting Lyanna's name? There you go. They're still really close, right? So I think Jon Snow, if he is there, right, is then raised in Greywater Watch. And I know y'all will get mad, but this is just my opinion here. This is how I think it's going to happen. And I don't see Ned going and getting Jon and bringing him to court. I don't see that happening. And also, this solves one of the issues. He doesn't have to lie to Catelyn. He doesn't have to raise a bastard. He doesn't lose his honor. He would have made that sacrifice, but he doesn't know. He sends one of the most trusted people to the Starks, Howland Reed. So if you think that was all madness, I'm sorry. Let's go on. We have a lot of slides left. Hopefully we can get through them quicker. The other regent. I only got two regents. Doran Martell. Well, other than Viserys' mom. Doran would get an invite to be a regent for a number of reasons. To keep from them growing bitter about the death of Elia, like what happened in the real timeline. And to strengthen and unite the realm, which is something that Ned really wants to do. Something Robert never cared about. This paired with the executions of Gregor and Amory, I always say Armory, Amory Lorch, might prevent Doran and Oberyn from seeking further retributions, right? They're trying to do their best to make this right. So, though the resentment towards Tywin himself can't be helped, they're always going to probably hate Tywin because they probably know he gave the orders. But this time, at least these guys were tried at the spot and killed. Doran might actually head down the King's Landing himself for the seat, which every time he gets offered a seat in the main timeline, he never goes himself. Along with Ned and the Hand, which I'll get to in a second, Doran will be able to pick members of the Small Council. So the big if here is if he actually heads down to King's Landing. But I'm thinking he is. Okay, so who's the Hand? Well, Jon Arryn. So this is a no-brainer. Robert knew that Jon is the best candidate out of those three, the three heads of the rebellion. The rebellion has three heads. So would Ned. And without the need to counteract Robert, he can get real work done, right? He's not constantly fighting with Robert or anything like that. He can actually get some stuff done. Not that Robert even showed up, but anyways. He also could be a father figure for Viserys, something that really needs to happen, making him hopefully less of a crazy person, Viserys, though that might be impossible. He might just be crazy. Just like how he was a father figure for Ned and Robert, right? Maybe he's not uber old yet. Maybe he can try to be that for Viserys. I don't have a lot of hope for Viserys as king, but maybe, right? Also, I think that he would bring Willem Derry to the Red Keep. He wouldn't give him a seat on the council. Willem Derry is not getting a council spot. He will not be on this what if. But instead, he might restore his position as Master of Arms. And this will keep at least a Targaryen loyalist close, right? But it would hopefully keep Viserys, or help Viserys' transition into being king. So now he has somebody who's been taking care of them for a while, somebody he's very close to. Hopefully that helps Viserys be better. He might not be. There might be no hope for Viserys Targaryen. Okay. So let's move on to some. Hopefully the rest of these go quicker. Lord Commander, Barristan Selmy. Yeah, no changes here. Ned and Jon would know that keeping the living legend Barristan in charge of the of the Kingsguard would add a legitimacy to the regime, right? You have to keep at least one guy there. I really have nothing else to add here. He is a natural Lord Commander, and he would rebuild the Kingsguard with the help of Jon and the Regents. And, of course, Viserys would get a word, technically. And maybe he gets a word, right? Okay, so here's another no-brainer. Grand Maester Pycelle. No changes here. He's the only member that doesn't change, actually, because, remember, Barristan wasn't Lord Commander. That was Gerald Hightower. He definitely sucks, and he would protest all the actions that alienate Tywin. He would be like, hey, we like Tywin. Maybe we shouldn't kill Gregor Clegane. Maybe we shouldn't punish Jaime. They're going to say, go kick rocks, dude. You open the gates, you're a piece of crap. But he is lucky to still be on the council. Yeah, they can't really get rid of him. So Pycelle's there, necessary evil. So here's another leap. I've been taking a lot of leaps. Almost all these are leaps. And Master of Ships, Stannis Baratheon. This was a very hard one to pick, but I like this. We need to keep the new Lord of the Stormlands happy. And in this timeline, instead of taking Dragonstone, he instead oversaw getting the new king from Dragonstone with no bloodshed, right? And bringing him home to King's Landing. Okay, he would prove to be a stick in the mud, right? Like he always is. He would be a stick in the mud. But we know that he is a capable man. And though there is no love between him, Ned, and Jon, we know that there is a mutual respect. And maybe in this timeline, Ned and Stannis can grow closer as friends. They are both glued to honor. They're both extremely honor guys, duty guys. They're all about that. All about that duty. Duty. But yeah, and also we do know that Jon and Stannis worked together kind of a little bit while they were on council in the main timeline. So I do see getting him on the council, he'd still be very young. He'd be like early 20s at this point, right? Or even younger. And I think that he would prove to be a really good master of ships, even though he's going to be things like, outlaw brothels. And I'm pretty sure even Ned's going to be like, yeah, it's a good idea. And then Jon and Doran would be like, no, it isn't. Shut up. Okay, so here's some fun ones. We got Master of Coin, Harmen Uller. Yeah, Uller. Half the Ullers are mad, the other half are worse. Hopefully he's just normal mad. Harmen is Doran's pick for the small council. So like I said, some of the regions get to add at least one guy. House Uller of Hellholt is a powerful house. So the Hellholt or the House Uller is a powerful house, and we know that in the main timeline, he was a possible supporter of Arion Martell's Queenmaker plot, showing us that his hate towards the Lannisters, right? He is also the father of Ilaria Sand, the eventual paramour of Oberyn Martell, and she might already be Oberyn's paramour at this point. We know that their first kid is 2 years away from now, so maybe they're already hooking up, right? We might not know much about Harmen's skills, right? But he could make a very powerful Dornish lord here. We don't know much about his skill, but you really could put any powerful Dornish lord here. You could really put any of them. But after looking at them all, which I did, I picked Harmen. I looked at the Manwoodies. I looked at the Ironwoods. I really did a lot of soul searching here. And I kind of just like Harmen Uller. You can tell me, no, it would have been a Manwoodie. Okay. You can tell me, oh, it would be a Dane. Whatever. I don't think there's any Danes who would fit right now, but maybe, right? This one was pretty hard to pick for Master of Coin, so I just went with Harmen Uller. And yeah, so for Master of Laws, so we got Laws and Whispers next? Okay, cool. I know that it's next, but Whispers? The Master of Laws, Martyn Cassel. Now we have Ned's pick, right? So I don't think they would have stated, I'm going to get one, you're going to get one, we're going to agree on the rest. No, I think one of them put one of their guys in, and then he's like, Doran's like, oh, you want to put in Martyn Cassel? It's like, yeah. And he goes, I want to put in Harmen Uller. And then they're going to go, yeah, okay. It's going to be unspoken, right? Okay, yeah, you can get one. But he's not going to say that out loud. All right. Now we have Ned's pick and a rare Northman for the council. For Master of Laws, a good, loyal Northman seems to make a good choice because they're a really big fan of upholding the laws. They're all about honor, right, and duty. I wanted to pick a man loyal to Ned, someone he picked for the Tower of Joy in the main timeline. The Crotting men would stay in the swamp to raise Jon, or whatever his name would be. Probably wouldn't be Jon in this one, right? Probably be Froggy or something weird, right? Theon Wool really isn't council material, right? Buckets wool, big buckets. I don't think he's really council material. Though Ethan Glover and Mark Risewell and Willem Dustin would all make really good points or picks. I was almost at Willem Dustin. But Willem Dustin's a lord, right? They have bigger areas to run. Cassel doesn't, Martyn Cassel doesn't have a big area he's taking care of. He's definitely not a lord, right? I think he's not a Land of Knights because they don't have really knights up there. But yeah, we don't ever hear about Cassel's seat. As far as we know, they're kind of just like a smaller house, right? Maybe they have a seat. We just don't know. So they all have bigger stuff to do, and they would be needed to help Benjen because there always has to be a Stark and Winterfell. That's right. Benjen's not taking the black in this timeline. Benjen would be running Winterfell. Okay? And because you can't leave it without a Stark. He's a little kid, by the way. He's 13. So he's going to need people older. And that's where one or all of these guys, right? Ethan Glover, Mark Riswell, Willem Dustin, other people, right? Will have to help. Martyn is the right mix of strength, loyalty, and availability here, right? He doesn't have any higher responsibilities. I love Ned having Jory's father close to him at court, like Jory in the book timeline. So that's another reason of his love towards Martyn that I think I mostly just kind of assume, but the reason he's always kept Jory close, maybe it's not ever stated in the books, but my headcanon has always been that he's really loved Martyn Cassel, so he kept Jory close. So I think Martyn Cassel really fits for Master of Laws. And now we got one more, and this one has a major asterisk because, like I said, I'm bending rules here. So if you're going to go, hey, Taco, you said you're only going to go for resisting lore and blah, blah, blah. You're right. So if you want to hold me at my feet to the fire there, forget about this dude, right? But hear me out. Master of Laws, Ricasso, maybe. All right, this is a weird one, and I'm not sure. I know Varys is out, right? He probably got executed, or he most likely fled. He probably didn't get executed. So I completely scoured the era for a good pick for Master of Laws. I already used Oberyn for my King Rhaegar video, the one where Aerys dies in Duskendale. What if? And I almost went with Howland, like for my Robb Stark what if, but like I said, he has duties in his swamp, right? So where was I? He has duties in his swamp. So I looked at Doran's court. I looked all over, really, and I found Ricasso. We all know that Rick is all we know. Sorry, not we all know. I didn't know. I had to look this character up. I've read the book so many times, and I totally forgot who Ricasso was. But all we know is that Rick is a seneschal who works for Doran in the main timeline, and he does the toast to Tommen in front of Balon Swan, right? So he goes, oh, toast to the king. So everybody, including Balon, holds up hands, but certain people don't. And only some people toast. I said tote to him. Now, if he was working for Doran this whole time, which we do know that he works for Doran, and did this toast just to feign love for the king and to expose men who would support a rebellion, so Doran knows everyone, and it's like, oh, that guy's on this side, this guy's on that side. And if he is actually a sneaky agent for Doran, and those are a lot of ifs, okay, he would make a good Master of Whispers. But if that's too big of a leap, let's just say no Whispers. Let's say no Master of Whispers. If you don't like Ricasso, say we don't always have to have one. Most kings don't have one. Okay, so I see Doran bringing him up, and then eventually he has enough power, and then they make a Master of Whispers, right? If you think, Taco, you like Evel Knievel jumped over to the Grand Canyon to justify that, you're right, I did. So if you're like, no, don't like that, we don't know anything about Ricasso, fair, then take him out, no Master of Whispers. Okay, what do you guys think? I'm sure nobody else has the same small council I have here. And I want to see yours, and I'm going to be respectful. I want to look at it and be like, oh, you went to that. Oh, that's really cool. And I hope that you guys do the same here. And yeah, there you guys go. This is a big one. I've been thinking about this one for a long time. So I actually feel like I'm going out on a limb because I do feel like this is definitely one of my riskier ones of going Viserys the Third Targaryen. And I don't know how else the timeline would go. I usually just go with what the what if is. I don't know if they're like going to marry Robb to Daenerys, Robb Stark to Daenerys. I don't know what's going on. Maybe right when Viserys hits 16, Ned's going back to the north. I'm assuming he would, right? Or even before that. But yeah, this is just at that time. There's a lot of cool speculation from this timeline, though, because it ended up getting really crazy. So yeah, that's all I got. Thank you guys. Please share your opinion, and opinions are like assholes. That doesn't mean you have to be, right? I heard that somewhere. So thank you, and yeah, peace.